If you couldn't tell from the atmosphere here in the place they call Fort Fun, the emotions are running high.
It ought to be mandatory they come here at Fort Collins and see this. This is absolutely a shrine to college football.
And the effects have been immediate. More recruits on campus, official visits than they've had in the last almost 10 years.
All the way to East to hunt. We're hunting for 60 minutes. Start fast and take away hope. We're the big dog. Get it in your mind.
All right, hi everybody, and welcome to Bighorns Live right here on CSURams.com. As well, it's the spring signing period, and we get set to introduce you to the newest signees for Colorado State Ram football. I'm your host, Brian Roth. Great to have you aboard with us. Of course, this is the second signing period for college football. The first signing period, for the first time ever in the history of the NCAA, came back in December. On December 20th, Colorado State inked 17 players to letters of intent, and we saw Colorado State go really heavy on the defensive side. 12 of the 17 signees were defensive players. There was 4 offensive players, also had a long snapper in there as well. So Colorado State now here today trying to clean up and close out that recruiting class that'll be on campus coming up next year for Colorado State. So without further ado, let's take a look at the signees here on the spring signing day. And well, you see a junior college kid in there in Keith Williams out of Independence Community College. He's going to be featured on Last Chance U, of course, a tremendous documentary. But Keith Williams, a junior college offensive lineman, one of 3 offensive linemen signed by Colorado State here in the spring signing period. Kavez Sherrard also signs, 310-pounder out of Anderson, South Carolina, a 3-star recruit. In fact, the 9th overall recruit in South Carolina, offers from Clemson, Duke, North Carolina, and Tennessee. And the other offensive lineman, Chess Jackson out of Tifton, Georgia, rated as the 14th best player in Georgia. Also a couple more guys, and a defensive back in Malcolm McGee out of Collins, Mississippi, and Ocean Springs High School, and then Cameron Carter, a hard-hitting linebacker from Tucker, Georgia, another one of those 3-star recruits that drew some interest from SEC schools. And then Miko Dotson, the cornerback from Daytona Beach, Florida. So that rounds out the recruiting class, and now without further ado, well, let's let you take a look at some of the highlights of the newest Colorado State Rams.
Cameron Carter, a 6'1", 200-pound linebacker from Tucker High School in Tucker, Georgia. Ranked 3 stars by 24/7 Sports, Cameron had 32 tackles, 23 solo, and 3 tackles for loss in 9 games with a forced fumble. Cameron had offers from 11 schools and drew interest from multiple SEC programs. Keith Williams, a 6'6", 280-pound offensive tackle from Independence Community College in Independence, Kansas. A 3-time All-Division selection, selected to play in the Baltimore Touchdown Club All-Star Game, a Crab Bowl All-Star Game selection, 2 first-team All-Country and All-League selection, and 17 reported offers, including Nevada, Louisiana Tech, and Southern Mississippi. Malcolm McGee, a 6-foot, 185-pound cornerback from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. During his senior year, Malcolm had 63 tackles and 3 interceptions, caught 23 passes for 286 yards and 2 offensive scores. Malcolm received 15 offers and was given USA Today's Mississippi All-State honors. Nico Hall, a 6-foot 1-inch, 180-pound wide receiver from Calabasas High School in Calabasas, California. Ranked 3 stars by 24/7 and ESPN, Nico had 457 receiving yards during his senior season, 19 catches, 57.1 receiving yards per game with 3 receiving touchdowns and 4 total TDs. As a junior, he had 51 catches for more than 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Nico also had 53 tackles at safety in 2016 and totaled 6 interceptions in his career. Nico's reported offers include Nebraska, Oregon, Arizona State, Louisville, Tennessee, Washington State, Wisconsin, Florida, and Michigan State. Kavez Sherrard, a 6-foot 4-inch, 280-pound offensive tackle from T.L. Hanna High School in Anderson, South Carolina. Ranked 3 stars by 24/7 and ESPN, Kavez is ranked number 9 overall in South Carolina, according to the Charlotte Observer. Named to the 2017 All-USA SC second football team, with reported offers from Clemson, Duke, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Chaz Jackson, a 6-foot 5-inch, 290-pound offensive tackle from Tift County High School in Tifton, Georgia. Ranked 3 stars by 24/7, Chaz was a selection for the U18 and U19 USA Football National Team. He was also named to the International Bowl 9 team for USA versus Canada and received 7 other reported offers from FBS programs.
All right, so we've taken a look at some of the new recruits. Happy to be joined by the head football coach at Colorado State, Mike Bobo. Mike, great to see you again. Congratulations on the second part of the signing class, and I know you're excited. We're going to get right to it. And you only signed the one offensive lineman back in December, Florian McCann, a Denver kid out of Mullen High School, but you get to 3 offensive linemen here in this signing period. Let's start with the junior college kid in Keith Williams.
Well, first of all, really excited about Florian. I know we talked about him back on December 20th, but a little bit tough situation with Coach Friend leaving us to go to Tennessee. But I can't say enough about the job our staff did, and especially Dave Johnson going out and basically establishing relationships with these guys and really competing and battling with some other very good schools and signing 3 guys. The first one you asked about, Keith Williams, 6'6", 6'7", 290-pound offensive lineman from Independence Junior College, who we're extremely excited about, a guy that can play tackle for us. And he's got 3 years. He's a 3 for 3. He's not a 2 for 2. So he's got 3 years to still develop and grow. And it's a much needed position for us that I think we addressed with the 3 guys, but Keith definitely being the most experienced guy.
Yeah, but guy perhaps can come in and help the Rams coming up next year. And then you signed a couple of high school kids. And how about Kavez Sherrard? And the first thing I noticed about him, he's a big boy, isn't he?
Yeah, Kavez is a guy that we got on late as well. We had our class pretty much in place, and then with the departure of Coach Friend, we had some guys looking. We had to reshuffle and go back out and evaluate who didn't sign. And when we reevaluated guys, Kavez was one of our most highly ranked guys on the board, and got a chance to go down to his high school, T.L. Hanna High School in South Carolina, and talk to his head coach, Jeff Herron, who I have a great relationship with. He actually he was the head coach of the same school my kids went to in Athens at Prince Avenue, and find out about who this kid is and what he was about. He'd only had him for 1 year, and talked about the strides he had made in the senior year that he'd had and the huge upside that he has. And got him out here with his mom on his visit and started building a relationship, and we're fired up that he's going to be a Ram.
Yeah, a kid from South Carolina, and a kid who had a lot of interest and some offers from a lot of those bigger schools down the SEC country, ACC country as well. And then the final offensive lineman, Chess Jackson, another kid from the South, from Georgia, and looks like he's got a pretty good frame.
He measured in last week, I believe, at around 6'5", around 280 pounds. He's still a young kid from South Georgia, Tift County, Georgia. Normally, we recruit Georgia, but usually don't go that far south. But same thing. After December 20th signing day, started scouring the country. What linemen didn't sign, and linemen were really a premium. The ones that didn't sign, and they were hard, to get in and get evaluated. And Chess had some interest, and Coach Johnson and Coach Cox did a great job recruiting him. Getting in his home, meeting his mother, meeting his stepfather, meeting his father, establishing that relationship, and then getting him out here on his visit. I think they fell in love, which we all do, with Fort Collins and Colorado State, and he's decided to be a Ram.
Right, yeah, I want to ask you about that. Switch gears, we'll get back to some of the guys, but you made mention to me, I think it was back in December, in the first signing day, that guys get out here and it's different, in a good way, different than what they perceived Colorado to be like?
Well, first of all, whether they're from California or Georgia or Florida or Texas, they all come in, with a big suitcase and a big bag with the heaviest coat that they've ever bought in their lives. Their parents, everybody thinking it's going to be below freezing temperatures, and they get out here and they cannot believe the weather in Colorado, and they do like to see the snow. That's not a recruit, by the way. That's my wife. She'll get mad that I didn't answer it, but if it would have been a recruit, I'd have answered it. But they get out here, that's not what they expected weather-wise. That's probably the number one thing that we fight, that you're going to be playing in that Minnesota temperature that was outside the dome the other night. But they get here and they see that it's a college campus, the community. I talk about it all the time, how Fort Collins supports the university and vice versa, and the wonderful people that are involved with Colorado State, and we want them to see everybody, not just the football staff and support staff, from our athletic director to our vice president of student affairs with Blanche Hughes, to every person that touches our program. We get them involved, and they truly feel like they're going to come to college and get the college experience, not just football. And that sells. We try to sell who we are, and kids and families are attracted to that.
Yep, you bet. Quite a product to sell here in Fort Collins. Let's continue along with some of the signees here from earlier today, and go to the defensive side of the ball, and defensive back that I know you guys are really excited about, and Malcolm McGee. He's a kid that drew a lot of big-time interest.
Well, Malcolm, when we had the changes on defense, we knew we had to address the corner situation. We were able to sign Richard Ajay early in the signing class that I think is an outstanding high school player that's got length and speed, and we were looking for guys that like that. And Malcolm McGee is a two-way player from Mississippi. He's a great basketball player. He's extremely athletic and has length. And first day back on the road was Monday, Martin Luther King, and we took 4 guys in to see him and meet with his mom, Tibby, and his stepfather, John, and sit down and start to build that relationship. And it's a long way from home, but I think when he got out here, I know when he got out here, he felt comfortable. His mom felt comfortable with the people, and we're fired up about him. He's a guy that I think will see immediate playing time for us on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, a kid from Mississippi and Ocean Springs High School, and Yeah, another one of those defensive backs that'll be coming into Colorado State. And then a linebacker, you go right back to the state of Georgia and Cameron Collins.
Cameron Carter.
Cameron
Carter.
It's a Cameron.
Cameron.
Okay. So you go back to Georgia and you get Cameron Carter.
Yeah, Cameron is he's along the lines of Daquan Jackson, a guy that we had signed in the early signing period from Jacksonville, Florida. We wanted to get more athletic on defense. We need guys that can run and hit. And if you look at Daquan Jackson and Cameron Carter, these are two guys that can run and strike people. And we've got to get faster on defense. We got to get in a position where we can erase plays. You know, sometimes you don't have the perfect call or the perfect scheme, and offenses might have the advantage, but you need guys that can erase things with speed. And we think these two guys are great additions to our signing class. And you know, Cameron is 6'1", 205 pounds right now. Can run. He plays in a football position. He strikes. He can bend. So we're excited about him.
All right. So again, he comes from Tucker, Georgia. Where in the state is Tucker?
That's in Atlanta.
It's in Atlanta. Okay.
It's in DeKalb County in Atlanta. And Tucker, I don't know how many they signed. They signed, close to 10 guys every year. It's a tough football program, and every player that I've ever coached or watched after they went to another school, they're extremely tough and well-disciplined, and they love to play football from Tucker.
All right, let's get to yet another recruit here on this spring signing day. Nico Hall, the wide receiver out of Calabasas, California, Mike, and I know this is a big get for you guys.
Huge get for us. It was an area of need for us at receiver, and to get a guy the caliber of Nico Hall, we're extremely excited. Him and his dad and his little sister Kai, they came on the trip, had an outstanding time, and felt this was home for them. And like always, they're kind of trying to figure out if it's the place for them, and we're trying to figure out who they are. And absolutely fell in love with the kid and his family. I loved his demeanor, and I'm excited to see what this guy can do for us on the field. I expect him to play immediately for us next year.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. We've seen some true freshman guys play for you here in previous years. Warren Jackson this last year. Could he be a guy that sees it for you?
No, there's no question. He's going to play for us as a freshman. I'm a firm believer in playing freshmen. Especially skilled guys. The more experience they get, the better they're going to be in the long run. And a lot of times, kids think just about their freshman year, which we want them to have an outstanding year every time, but it's a building process. And the more reps that you can give them, the more live experience, the better they're going to be their last year here before they graduate.
So again, happy to introduce all those new Colorado State Rams to you here today. Really looking forward to, again, maybe a year, 2, 3 years down the line to seeing what those guys can do right here at the on-campus stadium. All right, Mike, couple things before we close it out. Listen, it's been a whirlwind of a time for you. Last time we talked was December the 20th, and you guys had just pieced together 17 players. And boy, filling a bunch of coaching vacancies. First things right, how were you able to go and get this class together while you were still trying to get all those assistant coaches? Because you guys almost started from scratch after the first signing period to the second signing period.
Yeah, well, the good thing is we were able to sign 17 guys December 20th, and we talked about it that day. Really proud of the staff that was here and the job that they did across the board in addressing some needs and signing, really what I feel it has a chance to be one of our best signing classes since I've been here. And then, after the 20th, it's a little bit different this year. You signed 3/4 of your class. It might be a time to relax, but I had to start looking for coaches, and the main prerogative right then was to go out and find excellent coaches that will represent Colorado State the right way. And I'm extremely excited about our coaching staff. And as we pieced the coaching staff together, piece by piece, Dave Johnson was the first guy that I hired, and we started working on offensive linemen. And the result, we signed 3 offensive linemen this day. A good thing that we had signed most of our defensive class on the 20th, so I was able to take a little bit more time in researching, interviewing to find the right fit for our defensive staff at Colorado State.
Yeah, you end up going with John Jancic as your defensive coordinator, a guy you knew and coached with down at the University of Georgia. Mike, what will he bring to Colorado State?
Well, one a vast wealth and knowledge of experience. Here's a guy that has been coaching defense for a long time, has been a coordinator at all kind of different levels, from Grand Valley to Central Michigan to one of the highest levels in the SEC. So he's got experience of recruiting at all different type of levels, coaching at all different type of levels, developing players. And here's a guy that, quite frankly, has wanted to be on this staff. You know, my defensive coordinator, John Janzik, and Dave Johnson, my offensive coordinator, are two guys that wanted to be here and be a part of what we're building here at Colorado State. And that fires you up as a coach, guys that want to be here and help build something special.
Right, and you bring up Dave, another guy that you had coached with at the University of Georgia. I mean, and how important is that to get guys that you were familiar, they know you know them, you know their coaching style? Well,
at the end of the day, when you're in that room, there's got to be belief in one another, and there's got to be trust. And that doesn't happen automatically when, you know, you say, hey, here's the staff. It takes time. You know, you got to grow together. But when you've got two guys, you know, that you've been in the trenches with, you know, from anything to recruiting to off-season to games to adversity to good times to bad times, you know, we're familiar with each other. We know how each other ticks and what are the expectations. They know who I am and what I'm about, and that excites me. There's going to be familiarity, but at the same time, we're going to find the best way to do things here at Colorado State, and we're going to get on the same page, and we're going to work our tails off for this university and these players.
All right, so I know, listen, recruiting's 24/7, 365 days a year. You get a minor reprieve from it. You kind of turn your attention a little bit back to the real sport of football, the X's and O's, your personnel that you have on campus right now. Spring football coming up. What'll be some of the objectives? I know the spring football will be late March into April once again, but what are the objectives?
Well, just speaking of that, you know, you've been recruiting nonstop, and then Monday's a dead period, so we got to sit down and have our first true full staff meeting and talk about our personnel and who we have, and then offense and defense are starting to break up, and special team, and talk about personnel and talk about scheme. You know, offensively, you know, we're replacing one guy, but there's going to be some differences, so we got to sit down and we got to talk about, you know, rules and how we're going to call things, and, you know, line calls and different adjustments. Defense has got a whole staff. So in between taking phone calls with recruits, last little things, you know, the last 3 days, you know, we've been working on offense and defense and trying to figure out the best fit moving forward to get an idea of what we have on this team and how we're going to play them in the spring. That's the big question. You know, Coach Johnson, our offensive line coach, and our offensive staff, we got to figure out how we're going to play those offensive linemen. Defensively, we got to figure out how we're going to structure our defense. We're going to be a 4-3 now. Who's going to play what position? We start going to meetings. So we're working on that for the next 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. We'll have spring break, and we come back after spring break. March 19th will be our first day of practice, and then April 21st will be our spring game at 1 o'clock, and then we're having the Ram Good Time auction that night here at the stadium. So it ought to be a fun day for all Ram fans.
Yep, I'm already fired up for football season. Here we go. And hey, Mike, congratulations on putting together the new staff and then the new batch of recruits. I know it promises to be a great class. Congratulations. Get a little bit of sleep here, and we'll talk to you here in a few weeks.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, that's head coach Mike Bobo. That's going to wrap it up here on Bighorns Live, Spring Signing Period edition. For the coach, Brian Roth, saying so long. Thanks for joining us right here on CSURams.com.